I'm Ginny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm here with the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, Laura DeFranco, for a writer's chat. So, Laura, thanks for doing this with me today.
Oh, I'm so happy that you asked me to do this. We're going to have some fun.
We are. And as you know, Laura, for each issue of On Purpose Woman magazine, I give each writer the opportunity to let me interview them and talk with them about their article in the current issue. And you did have a poem in this issue as well, which we've already talked about, and people can find that on our YouTube channel from November the 18th. But we're turning the tables a little bit because I have an article in this issue of the magazine, which shouldn't seem rare, but it has been. And I ask you if you would come on and interview me because I participated in something that you create and it inspired this article. So, before we get into that, would you let our viewers tell our viewers what you want them to know about you?
Oh, thank you. And again, thank you for asking me to do this. I think I'm just so honored and I can't wait to ask you some questions about this awesome article. And I'm a writing fan and I've been writing forever, you guys, since I was 15. But my first 30-year career was as a holistic physical therapist. I'm a healer at heart. So when I opened Brave Healer Productions, where I am the now the CEO, I really wanted to serve my fellow holistic health, wellness, and business colleagues. So Brave Healer Productions is an award-winning publisher for holistic health, wellness, business professionals who are ready to help me give the world an experience of what's possible. And that's the short story for now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And you know, we go back a ways, and I'm a huge fan of yours. And so I'm glad you're here with me today doing this because the title of my article is I'm Not a Writer. And I will tell you when my virtual assistant Ann Pamphilis first posted that on, I think it was in the Facebook group, got all these, oh, of course you're a writer and all that, and like they kind of missed the point, you know. And so that's why I ask you because I was inspired by, I ended up in your writers chat to try it out. It was a free, you called it the free fall writers circle rather. And I was there and participating with a whole bunch of other people. And some stuff came up for me, which inspired this article. So you're in charge now, Laura. What do you want to ask me? And uh,
Well,
yeah, I'm on
kudos
the hot seat now.
kudos to you. I loved the article. I love the way you showed us the scene in your mind and what you were thinking and all the things that you did. And you are not just a writer, but you are a great writer. And I think that's the problem is people say it's not about being a writer. And if you write, you're a writer, you guys. Like, okay, so Jenny's a writer. It's in our heads, it's about being a good writer or a great writer, or it's all this perfectionism, comparisonitis, and imposter syndrome that get in the way of this, right? But I think the first thing I want you to talk about is, you're also a published author, and you mentioned that that was easier for you to talk about than being claiming yourself as a writer. So after writing this article, after publishing your beautiful expert collaboration and writing the chapter, how are you feeling now, today, about being a writer?
I feel much more like I can wear the title. And that was what was interesting for me that also came up in your writer's circle for me, kind of internally. I didn't talk about it out loud, but is that I was more comfortable with the idea of being a published author because I've been published in like five different books. And so published author means I got published. And then in my head, I'm going, but wait a minute, to get published, I had to write something. But I was feeling like there was this title that had to be earned, if that makes sense, because I did compare myself to, and you saw that stuff in the article. Real writers write every day, and real writers, I've had a magazine for how many years, and I rarely have an article in the magazine. So I'm not really a writer. And then that epiphany that came to me as I was writing the article about the workshop, I don't know if you want to talk about that at some point, but that came to me and it's like, wow, my younger self had some really good advice that I'm going to heed now, which is I am a writer. And I appreciate that you're telling me you think I'm a good writer. A lot of that stuff I learned from you, you know,
Thank you.
setting
Yeah.
the stage and the showing rather than telling and the dialogue and all of that, which I think makes writing so much more interesting when we can include all that stuff. Just much more fun.
Oh my gosh, I'm so addicted to becoming better and better and better. And I think you caught the wave of that.
Yeah.
And when you learn a couple of new writing skills and you start to get excited about how you're expressing your ideas on the page, it turns from that, you called it the automatic writing that came out that day, to something that you can edit a little, refine, work on, and then publish in your magazine. That's fantastic. The writer circle is so amazing. I'm so happy that you were there that day and that you're a part of that circle. We all want to get better at it, right? And so the show don't tell, you guys, that's really the biggest thing. And I want to teach that to everybody. And Ginny was showing her scenes in this article with inner dialogue, with actual dialogue, with helping us understand um, what she was feeling, helping us feel
Mhm.
something. Taste, touch, smell, see, right? And those are like the biggest tips. Do you remember writing your very first magazine article? Do you remember what that was? What was it?
It was an interview with the founder of the Light of Truth Center, the Recovery Center for Women in Baltimore. So I interviewed the founder and I interviewed three women who'd been in the program for a period of time and about their experience and how they're doing. And then I followed up, I think, a year later with like, where are they now kind of thing. So it was an interview. Other people were giving me their information. I didn't have to come up with a lot of my own ideas. And I still have that hard copy of that magazine. I'm going to go back and look at it and see what I think about that writer.
It will be so interesting to see it. So how old is the magazine?
Let's see. We took a bit of a break, but I started it in 2004, 2006. Yeah, it's about 18 years old now.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
And it
it
was
was a break in between for
distributed.
a couple of years before we went online. Yeah.
Yep, it was distributed as a hard copy
Mhm.
magazine all around the Maryland area. I remember being able to pick that up, and I remember our story, which we've told a few times, about you asking for a poem that I published in it, and I felt so proud to be in that magazine. And I want to talk about the magazine for just a minute because part of the article was actually a call out to some of your community. And I'm going to be a little bit more intense about it today.
Okay.
You guys, write for the magazine. What is stopping you? So I'm going to ask Ginny, what do you think is stopping people from saying, yes, I want to do that?
That's a great question. Uh, I know what stops me if I see an opportunity somewhere else, I'll just start with that. What stops me sometimes is, oh, what would I write about? Oh, I don't know if I have the time to do it. And what I want to remind women is you don't have to actually write for the magazine. We repurpose things. Laura, you'll send out a poem that you've written in an email or in a blog or an article, and I'll go, "Ooh, can I use that in the magazine?" And that happens a lot. If I'm on lots of email lists, especially for members of the community, and I'll read something, and go, "Ooh, I think that's a great fit. Can I use that?" It makes their job easier and my job easier. So I don't want people to think they have to sit down and actually come up with something, but then some women do. They'll send me some ideas. Oh, I'd like to write about this. And I love to have women commit to 3 to 6 articles, like as a series. So we publish every other month. So that would be, 6 months, 12 months. And they don't have to really tie together. They can be, they don't have to be consecutive, like, oh, part one and part two, they can be. But it's just, okay, you're committing to sending me something. And then that also helps me to plan a little bit better too. So I don't know. Those are some of the reasons I think they just see it maybe as another task.
Yes. So let's help people understand why it's way more than that. You guys, writing these kinds of articles, and or if you're a blogger and you're writing articles for your blog, this is similar. You're helping your audience get to know, love, and trust you with your beautiful, brave message and words. That is why you should be interested in writing for the magazine, because when someone gets to a taste of who you are through your storytelling, storytelling is how we connect, connection. And I know you love that piece of things, right? And
Oh,
everybody has those powerful stories. Um, what, and they brand your business. I'll just add that in there. Like, we can pick stories that help people into our very specific world where we are an expert and we're offering a service or a beautiful program or a workshop. What do you want to say, just kind of in addition, about storytelling? Like, what kinds of things do you love to put in the magazine?
hey, I'll tell you, I know it when I see it. But we call the magazine, and it's been, I guess, when we rebranded in a way, we went online from the print magazine. The tagline in the original magazine, the print magazine, was the cool magazine for the cool local woman. And my then daughter-in-law, who was the designer of the magazine, she came up with that for the first issue, put it on the proof as a joke. And she thought, oh, I was going to say, oh, take that off. And I loved it. And when we came back online, Catherine Yarborough was designing it then, and we came up with a force for good as really the purpose of the magazine. I like to refer to it as, inspiration and resources for your mind, your body, your spirit, and your business. And so anything that's inspiring, anything, I like things that are a little edgy. We had an article this time on how book banning hurts children. We had an article about, embrace your inner bitch, and it's just like anything that will help women see their power and use it to step out, who want to be seen and heard in greater ways. And I'm not talking about, necessarily bouncing from extreme introvert to extreme extrovert. That just doesn't happen. But to know that they have something valuable to say. So anything that can inspire women. We are a women only magazine. We do not publish articles from men. We do not even take advertising from men because it's just all women all the time. And so anything that speaks to that, anything that speaks to um, just helping women on their journey, whether it's a spiritual journey, interpersonal, um, we also, it's not just for women entrepreneurs. There are, career women, there are retired women, there are women of all types who read our magazine. So anything that would just speak to women, younger women. I'm really excited because we have more younger women writing for the magazine because I think their perspectives are so important. So yeah, anything you think I could add to that?
Well, so I just had a couple of flashes of some of the articles, and also I was smiling when I saw a couple of my gals have put their book advertisements in, and we can advertise in the magazine. But in terms of the community of authors that I serve, you guys have written beautiful chapters, beautiful whole books. What if your article was an essay version, and then you could step into the magazine maybe with a book ad as well, helping again, just ideas that you've already written a lot of content, and we can make that something that enhances the On Purpose Woman magazine. I think that is just another really great idea. But I kind of wanted to get back to imposter syndrome for just a half a second. And I know this gets talked about a lot, but I believe that what keeps people from submitting or maybe even thinking they should or could is like, well, I don't really, it's the same as your article. I'm not a writer. Who am I to try to submit to a magazine? Well, you all are storytellers. So, give us the story and then come to somebody like me or another resource and let us help you craft it, edit it, fine tune it if you think you need that. But I want to get you over your imposter syndrome. Have you It's kind of a trick question because I think everyone has, but I know you've been through that feeling of imposter syndrome. What do you want to share with your community about that? How can we get over that?
Well, it's not the truth to start with. That's sort of the simple answer. It's all stuff we made up, and it's all looking outside of ourselves rather than inside of ourselves. So I'm looking at this person over here, imagining, I'm sitting in that writer circle, imagining that everyone but me is writing some prolific blah, And then when I read some of the chat, there were women there who'd never written anything, they said. That was they were just sticking their toe in this world of writing. I'm thinking, oh, that's interesting, isn't it? So I was sitting there making up a whole bunch of stuff, and that's what we do. We make up stuff. And I remember reading years ago, and it was just a quote. I think it was in a drawer I opened at a new job. I opened up a drawer, it was an empty drawer, and there were two little slivers of paper, and one of them said, "Be kind, others are facing tough battles." And the other one said, um, it just went over my head. Oh, okay. We go around judging our insides based on other people's outsides. And so viewing other people's lives as perfect, as they're, thinking that that thing that they wrote took them 10 minutes, that they might have labored over for weeks going back and forth. It wasn't that people, real writers, just sit down and inspiration flows automatically. And their first draft is always the best one. So it's all that making up stuff. In fact, there's even an article about imposter syndrome in this issue of the
I
magazine.
saw that too.
And but I saw it so much in my corporate world as well that, and sometimes it's fostered by this having to be that idea of having to be twice as good to be seen as half as good, of competing with men in that arena and feeling like we don't measure up because there are a lot of messages coming back at us that we weren't, like, we didn't deserve to be in the playing field there. And so I think it starts young, probably, and I think the way to get through it is what I do is I step back and go, what have I accomplished? I mean, my God, look at the stuff I've done. I started a magazine. I didn't even know what I was doing. I remember walking into my husband's office and telling him, I think I'm going to do a magazine. And his first question was, how are you going to do that? Because, he's a guy and he wants to know the specifics. And I said, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. And, I'm still figuring out some of it, but what if I hadn't said yes to that? We wouldn't be having this conversation. And so I think that comparisonitis, is that what it's called? Something
Comparisonitis. That's what I
comparisonitis,
call it.
comparisonitis, yes, is just other people's words in our head that we let get in there, taking up space. And so we have to step back and say, what do I know for sure here? Who am I for sure? You know, what am I great at? And sometimes it's, what do people tell me that I've helped them with? What do people tell me that they appreciate about? That can help sometimes, to just, like, I'm not saying go out there for that validation, but it can remind us sometimes of who we are and what we're capable of. And that it's okay to mess up. It's okay to be messy. And I think that's another, perfection is non-existent. So why do we strive so hard for it when it doesn't exist? So
I had that perfection. I had a lot of words on my list here: perfectionism, comparisonitis, imposter syndrome, blah, blah, blah. And okay, so the biggest gift you give today, I think, and it's in your article throughout, is you're gifting us with your awareness process. Awareness of this is everything. So when you're vulnerable and being yourself in that beautiful way that you shared that story about thinking you weren't a writer, you let us into your world, and we don't feel so alone because we're feeling the same thing. And so thank you for gifting us your awareness process. That makes you a writer. And I mean, you're not a writer, really? Like, have you journaled anything ever? Y'all are writers, all of you, right? But remember that when you put that awareness down on the page, that is a healing feeling and healing moment, both for you probably, but also for the reader. So I just want to, you know, say thank you again about that. You mentioned one of the articles in there, and you mentioned you love the edgy pieces, and it was the something about the inner bitch, right? I saw that article in there, which brought me to this thought in my head about it. You get to be yourself in this magazine. You get to be your authentic self. You don't have to write what you think everybody needs to hear. You can write the thing that is you, that's something you want to talk about, and Ginny's going to be okay with it, right? And if she isn't, she'll tell you. But
Right.
what do you want to say about authenticity?
Mm.
Maybe for you, your personal experience of trying to be yourself, or to the women who write for the magazine.
The first thing that popped in when you were talking about that is that somebody else already written the book that they think everybody wanted to read. They've been written, right? So,
Yes.
and I love what one of the first things I remember when you started talking about writing and you spoke for the On Purpose Women Global community and you wrote about writing, you said that everything out there has already been written, but not by you. And that really sticks with me. So I think that's really important to know that you have this unique spin on things. I mean, there will be people who read that title of my article and will not be the least bit interested in it. Oh, I wonder what that, or maybe, oh, I wonder what that's about. No, so she's not a writer, big deal. There will be others who will go, "Ooh, I'm not a writer. I want to say I'm not a writer either." I mean, what does that mean? She has a magazine and she's not a writer. I think there'll be a curiosity there. So come from that place so that others will be curious about your process, will be curious about what Laura referred to as, what did you say I did? I expressed
Awareness.
my awareness process. I love that so much because everything that we write is really an awareness process. You know, when I wrote for the On Purpose Woman book that you published, it was all, it was awareness as I was writing it, but also reflecting on past awarenesses. How did I get from there to here? Because each step along the way, there was an, oh, kind of a, oh, I didn't know that 5 seconds ago. And now I know that. So then, we move on from there and on from there. And I think the key is to realize that it's okay that we're all in this messy space together. And that when you surround yourself with women, however you find them, who are not competing with you, but they are genuinely wanting you to just be your best self, whatever that looks like, then you have the freedom to express yourself more, I think, whether it's in writing or speaking, anything like that, and to not be concerned about who's going to care. The woman who wrote the article about Embrace Your Inner Bitch, she had sent me 3 different topics, and one of them we published in the last issue, and then this one. And when I first read it, I was like, ooh, okay. And when I read it, I thought, oh God, that's so true. I mean, it's so true. And it's the idea of letting someone else take that word and use it against us, you know, and realize when we own that word, yeah, sometimes it's effective to be a bitch, right? If you use it in a certain context. But don't you dare call me one unless you have permission, right?
Yes.
Unless you're my girlfriend or something, but don't think that you can just call me out. And so, gosh, I'm all over the place here, Laura, but I think it's about try it out and see how it feels you know, send something to me. Send me, you can go on my website, which is opwgc.com, and that will be in the text of this video. And there's a submission spot there for the magazine where you can just send me an email with some of your ideas. We can either have a conversation or we can just email back and forth a couple of times. The specs are there, you know what to expect, what I need from you, the due dates. But more important than that is, what do you most want to say? What do you most want to say out there in the world? And what do you think you have to say that maybe you'll say in a way that nobody else has said quite like that yet? Because nobody has, you know.
I love it. I'm going to be your co-cheerleader for everybody listening. Write something. Think about how you want to present your voice for the next issue will be first quarter of the new year.
January, February. Yeah.
Yeah. How would you want to express yourself and what you're doing in the world for 2025? Maybe submit an article for the issue. What's the deadline for that one?
It actually is next week. It's December 10th.
Next week, you guys. Maybe
A
to help her
thousand
get it
words or
in.
less is preferable, and a bio of 50 words or less with any links you want to share, and a headshot.
Nice.
But it would be great to check with me first just to make sure that, that I think it's a fit. Because sometimes I'll get things and the idea sounds like a fit, and but I think your title's kind of dull. So, may have to tweak the title a bit. I do some editing, but I edit mainly for, does it make sense? Does it flow? Is the grammar right? Is the punctuation right? But I never want to change the voice of the writer, and change words, because I don't think that's a good word, because that's not the kind of editing I do. That's for your book publisher to do. If you've written the article and I think it's just, if everything flows well and it makes sense, then we'll publish it just the way you wrote it. So,
So I just want to kind of wrap up on my end by saying thank you. Thanks for all you do to help us be seen and heard in the world in a bigger way as women, as business owners, as just women who care about this world and want to help it make it a better place. Thank you for the magazine. Thank you for your gatherings and really your indomitable spirit over the years of just coming back around and saying, come on, gals, like, let's get together. I have so appreciated that. And I love you so much. And I'm so glad that we got to do this today. I know you have a last message for everyone today too.
oh, thank you. Thank you, Laura, so much for that. And can you believe 25 years in March? I've been doing this. The community will be 25 years old in
Wow.
March. So, yeah, indomitable spirit. I think that's part of what keeps me going. And because I get to meet amazing women like you who hang out with me still. And I also get to see, and the magazine is one of the ways to do that, get to see how women progress with their confidence and with their kind of aspirations and with their just their willingness to be seen and heard in bigger and bigger ways. And I just want to touch for a minute on something that is in the article that was the epiphany that I had. And the epiphany came from my wisdom from 20 plus years ago, where I was getting ready to teach a workshop, getting out of your own way. And there were 40 some women in the room. And I started at the front row and asked everybody, tell us, who you are, where do you live, and why did you come today? And about the fourth person in was this older woman who, yeah, I'll say more about that in a minute, who said in a very meek voice, I'm Sylvia and I want to be a writer. And Sylvia was 73. I'm 73 years old and I want to be a writer. And I just remember kind of thinking, well, and then I said, do you write? She goes, well, yeah, I write some. And I said, well, what do you write about? What do you most like to write about? And she goes, oh, I love to write. She got real animated. I love to tell people's story, the elder stories. I love to interview the elderly and have them tell their stories. And then these are wonderful gifts for their family members and so forth. And she lit up and the shyness went away. And I said in my 50-something-year-old wisdom, well, you know what? I think you are a writer. She goes, you do? And I said, yeah. I said, because you write. And that came to me as I was wrapping up this article. I didn't even have it in there yet. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I am now Sylvia's age, saying I want to be a writer. And yet I gave her that amazing wisdom all those years ago that I finally accepted for myself, which was really very cool. Sylvia's no longer on the planet. She's passed on. And it was just a lovely way to remember her because she became a member of the community. She would stand up and just start. Sometimes I'd have to say, Sylvia, your time's up, sit back down now. And she just, she was just an amazing woman and a great role model. So,
Love
yeah,
that
yeah,
story.
I know, me too. So, Laura, thank you for being with me. Thank you for all that you do. And I want to thank anybody who's watching this, either here live on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. You can read my article at opwgc.com/magazine. Also in the text of this video. You can also, in that same issue this month, it's November, December, you can read Laura's poem. You can also see Laura's interview that I did with her. It was about her poem, but it was about so much more than her poem. And so Laura and I can go down a lot of paths and cover a lot of ground in a very short period of time. That is also on our YouTube channel. It's from November the 18th. Laura's website is also lauradefranco.com. that's in the text of this video. And you can also, I've also linked to her Brave Healer books on Amazon, as well as a couple of other things, I think, here. So check out Laura and all the things that she offers and what she's up to in the world. So I want to thank you for watching this Real Women, Real Purpose talk show. For more information on the community that we've been talking about and to read the current issue, just go to my website again. And also for more interviews like this with amazing women who are living their lives on purpose and bringing their unique gifts to the planet, go to our YouTube channel, which is also in the text of this video. Thanks for watching.